cigar. Cooking with cigar. Cooking with cigar. Cooking with cigar. When I'm in that kitchen with precision, mix, cha-cha-cha, this is all what the vision of this hot-taste of tradition. Food network, I leave you listen, see the recipe is simple. Now you cooking with cigar. Cooking with cigar. Here we're gonna be doing like a simple, real simple fish and grits recipe. And the reason why I want to keep it simple is because anyone could do this if you're at college or anything like that. A lot of these ingredients you have laying around, and it's quick and it's easy and fast. Okay, just to give you a little history real quick, the grits that I'm gonna be using is the Quaker grits that anyone can get, 5-minute grits. But I just want to introduce a really cool one, the water ground style. These are Moss grits. And what grits is a grain that's coarsely ground, and we cook it in any type of liquid. So you can cook it in milk, you can cook it in stock. What is stock? Stock is basically a flavored liquid. So like fish stock will be flavored with fish bones. Chicken stock will be flavored with chicken bones. You can find stock or broth in your grocery store, and you can use that to add a little different flavor to it as well. But today we're just going to be doing water just to keep it real simple. But these grits are really hearty, and grits is kind of like a poor person's food. And growing up during slavery times back in the day, they basically used what they had around them, and that's what they had. They had fresh fish, fresh seafood from like the pond or the river or wherever they can get it from, and these grains that they were able to just blend up and cook in a liquid. So introducing some more of my ingredients. I have a spring mix, right? Anybody can use any type of greens you want. In the South, they're really well known for collard greens. You can use kale, any type of in-season winter grain if you wanted to. But a lot of people just have kind of like salad mixes laying around, so you want to use that. We have our fish. We have our fish here. I have it on a towel because you want everything dry at first. And this fish is porgy, which is like a southern fish. You can use any type of fish you like. Catfish is really popular. Tilapia, bass. If you wanted to use frozen fish, you could use it. I don't recommend using frozen fish. I don't like it. I like fresh fish. When you smell it, you don't want any type of smell. When you go into a fish market or something like that, that smell that you're smelling is actually rotten fish. So if you go to a really good fish market or fishmonger, you're not going to smell anything. It's gonna smell a little bit like seawater, like salty, but fish you're not supposed to smell. So here I have beautiful fish. You can look at the color. It's not oblique, meaning it's not slimy. It's not like gray. It's beautiful. It's bright. And like I said, it's fresh. And I just have it on a towel, just kind of drying, pat dry. I have here our flour mixture. So the recipe that you can use is you can use just straight flour. But what I have here is equal parts corn flour, wheat flour, regular flour, and a little bit of cornmeal. That's to kind of give it that real southern kind of like unique flavor. It gives it a nice texture as well to the crunch in fish. And corn is just a really popular ingredient that was used kind of growing up during those times as well. We have butter, cheese, lemon, lime, our quick grits, and then we have this as well. Let me see if I can get in the camera here. But this is basically our egg mixture. So we have 1 egg, milk, and then if you don't have buttermilk, you can use lemon. You can use lemon to the regular milk, and it'll kind of create the same taste or flavor what buttermilk gives. So our first step we're going to do is we're going to take our fish, and we're just going to pre-season a little bit. And if you guys have any questions, please let me know. If you can't see something or whatever it is, just stop me. I'll go slower, whatever the case is. Please let me know. So we have salt on the fish. I'm gonna add, I always like to do salt and pepper. A lot of people ask like, what kind of seasoning to use. You really just need salt and pepper. That's really it. When I cook, I grew up with a lot of spices. I grew up in a West Indian household as well. So curry spices and different spices like that, I grew up with as well. So when I cook, I do like to use spices, but salt and pepper is more than enough. Okay, so I have salt, pepper. When you season, I kind of season from above. I don't go right like super close. I season from above, get a nice even layer, even coat. I'm just gonna leave this here for 1 minute, okay? And then we're gonna soak it into our buttermilk. Okay, next what I'll do is I'm gonna slice up some garlic. So the garlic's gonna be used for the garlic is gonna be used for the greens. And what I wanna do is, so when I have oil, it extracts, oil helps, it's like a, what's the word? It's kind of like a circuit almost, like it helps kind of extract flavor basically, like a running pan, it just extracts flavor. So what this oil is going to do is kind of bring out the flavor of the garlic. It's going to bring out the flavor of any pepper that I want to use. That's going to be for the greens. So all I'm going to do is I'm just going to take this garlic and slice it. So with garlic, people think you need to chop it up. For me personally, I didn't learn it like that. I never really chopped it up. What I do is I just slice it. And the reason why I slice it is because it has more surface area, so it doesn't burn as quickly. So if you ever wonder, like if you put like chopped up garlic in a pan and then you see it gets black or something like that, the reason why is because your pan's a little bit too hot, but also because it's so much smaller. So if you start with a wider surface, it gives you a little bit of wiggle room to kind of like maneuver a little bit. So I'm just gonna slice the garlic. I have my fish seasoning, right? And that salt is kind of creating a brine. What is a brine? Brine takes out the moisture. It actually takes out the water of the fish. It's gonna tense it up a little bit, but it also impacts its flavor. So actually, it's a way of seasoning. You can do a dry brine or a liquid brine. A liquid brine would be ice water, kind of keeping your fish in there. And ice water will be like 10%. So what does that mean? Like if you have 1,000 grams of water, it'll be like 100 grams of salt. Basically like a very small percentage. You have that, you keep your fish in there and it cleans it and it also seasons it and it keeps it moist as well. So it's really cool. But instead of that, we're just gonna, quick way is just season salt, pepper, leave it on the side. Like I said, we have a flour mixture here. I'm gonna season that up a little bit. Like I said, I like to use spices, right? So I have some homemade curry powder here. Smell it really, really nice. This is already toasted. With any of my spices, I like to toast them. The reason why is because it extracts flavor, like I was referring to earlier. When I toast my spices, I toast it in a dry pan. I shake, and you'll be able to start to smell it. Once you start to smell it, that's how you know, like, okay, like the flavors are starting to like accumulate, everything's starting to get woken up a little bit, and that's what you want to do with your any type of spices using. So I have my curry spices here. You don't have to use curry. A lot of people don't like curry. I love curry. This is what I grew up on. So we're gonna use curry. I also have a homemade barbecue slice, but the barbecue spices that I make have a mixture of all different types of spices, from cardamom to star anise to just a whole bunch of things. Cumin. And I'm gonna add a little bit of that in here as well. And then Old Bay, one of my favorite seasonings. Everybody usually has this. It's great with seafood. It's great with chicken. I love wings. If you want to eat some wings, you could throw this on the wings. It's delicious. Personally, for me, Old Bay goes a long way. I love it. So I'm just gonna kind of add it here as well. I'm adding basically about a tablespoon each to about, I would say, 1 cup of flour to about a tablespoon each of seasoning. Now you don't have to add salt and pepper to this mixture because you know, the Old Bay already has salt, but I like to always add a little bit extra salt, pepper, just for me. So I'm gonna add a little salt, pepper. Also, if you haven't recognized with pepper, the pepper that I have here is just, I mean, you can use any type of pepper, but I always love to use fresh ground pepper. It's just 1,000 times better. I never use the stuff that's already ground. I just get a little pepper mill here, or you can use the big shaker, whatever you prefer. And I like to always fresh ground pepper. Okay. So now next, I have my fish in there for about a minute, just kind of, if you start to see it's kind of seeping in there a little bit, I'm just gonna put in this mixture that I have now. And I'm gonna kind of let it absorb the fish flavor a little bit longer. The buttermilk flavor in there. So we have the egg, we have hot sauce. I added hot sauce as well. You don't have to add hot sauce. I love hot sauce. This is just basically milk, lemon juice, hot sauce for me, a little bit of salt, pepper, and the milk and the egg, and that's really it. I'm just gonna leave it in there, kind of let it soak in there for a little bit. A spice mixture. I'm just gonna take whatever you have at home. A fork. The reason why I use a fork instead of a spoon is because it has these little ridges. It can kind of help break up and like kind of evenly distribute everything. You just, long story short, you just want to mix it. That's really it. You just want to mix it, and then that's really it. So we have our soaked fish in. We have our spice mixture, corn flour done. I'm gonna get on the grits. Okay, so like I said, we're gonna use the quick grits. Quick grits, 5 minutes. The quick grits that I'm using about a 1/4 cup to about a cup of water. Okay. So when I add it, I want to add the water first, and then you're gonna add the grits, and then you're gonna slowly mix. So just to show you real quick in the camera, these are my grits right here. Take a whisk. And then you're just gonna slowly add that. The reason why you want to do that is because you don't want any lumps in your grits. Nobody likes lumpy grits. You know what I mean? You want nice, smooth, velvety grits. So you just break it up. You're gonna let that go. Also, if you notice, I'm using a cast iron pan. I love cast iron pans. Back in the day, that's all they used. The reason why cast iron pans are amazing is because they're also versatile, but they hold the heat really, really well. They're thick, they're heavy, but like they don't bend. You know what I mean? They don't really break. They never break. They last forever. But you can use them outside. But they hold the heat really well. So whenever you're frying something, I love to use cast iron because it kind of holds the temperature at the temperature you're looking for, which is great. So I'm gonna add my oil in here. Nice little shallow fry. When I say shallow fry, I mean like shallow water, so just not too much. You could do deep fry, but it's not really necessary. I'm gonna start getting on my greens now. So like I said, all it is garlic, oil, pepper, and little to no water. The reason why you don't want to use any water is because the actual greens have its own nutrients, has its own water in there, and that's going to leach out and create its own liquid. So this is going to be like the liquid or the sauce for the dish in a sense. So first, oil. And when you add that oil, you want to kind of, it's called shimmering, but what you want to see is kind of it separate a little bit and then make little holes. And what that means is that your pan's nice and hot. And you always want to use a nice hot pan whenever you're cooking. Okay. You should also hear a sizzle whenever you add an ingredient to something. Okay. You see it. Okay. Now, also another trick is that you can add salt to whatever you're cooking, and it's going to take out the moisture, and it's going to help not brown it too much or like burn it. So I'm gonna add a little bit of salt here. I'm gonna add pepper right into the oil. And a little bit of red pepper flake. I don't like my food spicy, but this is just, whenever you cook, you wanna add layers of flavor. So this is what that's doing. It's adding another layer of flavor to it. So not too much, maybe like a quarter teaspoon of each. And like I said, it's waking everything up. You start to smell it, you smell the spices, you smell the pepper, the garlic, and you just want to get that a little bit brown, kind of translucent. So we'll let that go. We have our grits. And then we have our fish still soaking. I'm just turning up the heat a little bit. So right now I'm just feeling out everything, just trying to see where everything is. I'm using an electric stove. I love fire, so I love a gas stove, but I'm just trying to feel out where all my temperatures are. Trying to get everything at the same time. Now you see the garlic starting to get brown. I'll toss it around a little bit. Then we're just gonna add our greens right in there. Add a little more salt. Like I said, all you need is salt and pepper. Take my spoon. I start to mix it around a little bit. And you'll see, you think it's a lot of greens, but once it cooks down, it's really not that much. And you don't want to cook it to death either. What's cool about using the bag of mixed greens is that each grain has its own flavor, a little bit different. So it's really nice, different textures, good flavor. And it's literally that simple. I'm not gonna cook it any longer for right now, because the other stuff isn't ready. We'll flash it. What do I mean when I say flash it? I mean we'll heat it back up real quick. And right now, I don't want to cook it any longer than this because I don't want it to be cooked to death. I always like to taste my food as well. As you're cooking, don't wait. Don't just give your food to like someone else and be like, hey, like, I don't know how it is. Taste it. Always taste your food as you go so you can adjust. That's what cooking is all about. So I taste it. I think it's good. Maybe a little more salt, but I'll wait. All right. Now we're ready for our oil here, our fish. Okay. Take my fish right out of the bath. Whenever I'm breading anything, it's one wet, one dry. So I have one hand that's always going to be wet, and then one hand that's always going to be dry. That way you don't make a mess. Have it in here. Okay. Put it in, and then pack it in. And that's what you want. Just one even, kind of just what you're looking for. And we'll put it in. And it's going good. The next one. Kind of want to pat it down to make sure everything is nice and covered. Get all that breading on there. And then shake, shake, shake. See our fish is going. What I have here is called a fish spatula. It's basically for fish. It's nice because it's flexible and it has these little ridges in here too. So all that grease can escape. So it's a nice spatula to use so it doesn't break the fish. My grits are here. You're seeing them bubbling, kind of just want to wait a little bit so it absorbs all that liquid. With quick grits, the reason why they're so quick is because they're already cooked. So basically when you add liquid to it, it's rehydrating this too. Fish is delicious for me. I love fish. And it's really quick and easy to cook. You know, it's fresh, but it doesn't take forever to cook. It's not like chicken where you got to play around with it and you got to be like, oh, is this pink? Is it not pink or anything like that? It's good for me. So how long do you want to cook this fish? About, say, 2 to 3 minutes each side. Whenever I'm frying the fish, I'm cooking the skin side down first. See my fish. I'm gonna flip it back on the other side just a little bit. I think it's get a little bit more brown on the back side. Turn my heat. Heat is about cooking is about also, controlling your heat, adjusting as you go. Sometimes things might not be as hot as you want or anything like that. You just got to be able to play around with it. And the way you do that is by obviously like taking your time, looking at it, and just kind of having that experience with it. So this fish to me looks nice. It's golden brown. 2 to 3 minutes on each side. What I have ready for me, right? Mise en place, everything in place. Paper towels. You can have a rack if you wanted to. You can have anything like that. So what I'm doing is I'm taking out of the pan, right? I'm using a spatula that has the ridges here, so it's stripping out all that excess fat. And then I'm also putting it onto a paper towel. What that does, it makes it nice and dry. It makes it not oily at all. I heard my grits getting a little bit too hot, so I see that. I think they're basically ready. My fish is still working. Next, what I'm gonna do is this fish here. What I want to do is I want to take a lemon, cut the lemon, make sure there's no seeds. And a nice little trick is I always like to season any type of seafood with a little bit of fresh lemon juice, a little bit of acid as soon as it comes out. And then also a little bit of fresh salt. I like to water my food with a little bit of acid, a little bit of finishing salt. And I also have here give me 1 second. I have here a microplane. You can use this for zesting, meaning like removing the peelings. You can use a cheese grater. If you don't have a microplane, a fancy thing like this, you can use a cheese grater. And what I like to do is I take the rinds of the lemon and I'll put it right on top of the fish. That adds a nice floral taste to it, and it just adds, like I said, another flavor. We have our fish going. I'm gonna heat back up our greens so we're getting close here. Like I said, I'm adding a little bit of salt. And then we have these grits. So there's no salt. All it is water and grits right here now, okay? have it off the heat. It's still hot. What I want to do now is, one second, cut off the heat. Let me check my fish. I think the fish to me looks nice. If I tap it, it's still crunchy. It's not oily. I hear it. I'm like, all right. This one's a little bit dark, but it's still okay. And like I said, what you want to do, as soon as it comes out, season it with a little bit of acid. It's finishing salt. A little bit of that rind from that lemon. Okay. So I have the heat off now and the grits. So you can do grits, you can do polenta, you can do any type of grain that's ground up. This is just water and grits, right? So now the key is you want a nice smooth grits. So in order to do that, what we're gonna do is we're gonna add any type of fat that you would like to off the heat, and it's gonna help emulsify. What does emulsify mean? It's gonna come together. Everything's gonna come together. So we have these grits right here. I'm gonna grab my spoon. I'm gonna grab a little bit of butter. If you're vegan, use olive oil. Water, grits, olive oil, and no cheese. You know, for me, I'm gonna add some butter. One second. How much butter? About a quarter of a stick. Okay, butter. We're just gonna whisk that in there. Add a little bit of salt. Not too much salt because I'm adding some type of cheese, okay? For me, the cheese that we're gonna be using today is Pecorino Romano. You could use Parmigiano, but I love Pecorino. It has like a funky flavor to it, a little bit of saltiness. It kind of adds a little punch to it and also helps with the creaminess of your grits. So I'm gonna take this. If you don't have a fancy microplane, like I said, you can use a cheese grater. And we're just gonna kind of just hit it right in there. And make sure when you do this, it's off the heat, because that's gonna help it come together. Also, I like to use a microplane because it gets a little bit finer. So if you're not gonna have a super duper like coarse cheese, it's gonna be like almost like not a powder, but it's gonna help incorporate really nicely in it. I have my whisk, and I'm just whisking that in. I'm gonna add a little bit more butter. My greens are getting nice and hot. Okay, I smell it. And we have our cheese grits now. We'll give it a taste. Nice, creamy. You taste the cheese, not too salty. If you want to add pepper, you can add pepper. The grits are cooked. And then we're ready to plate. Real simple. We're gonna take our grits. Let's say you want to have a date night with your girlfriend or something like that. Have everything already cooked, and then you just plate it, and then you give it to your girlfriend, and she's super duper happy. So we have our grits, right? Nice. Okay, you see that? It's kind of like nice and velvety. So just put that down first. Now this isn't anything fancy, guys. Anybody can do this. And when I put it in, I'm just gonna take it from the bottom a little bit, kind of let it separate. When it comes down, you see it's kind of like moving down a little bit. Take my greens. I'll give it one last taste. All right. It's nice. A little bit of pepper in there, garlicky, right? I'm gonna take it, put it right in the middle. And I'm just gonna put it in a bowl, but what that's doing is adding height to the dish. This is simple comfort food, but it's adding a little bit of height to the dish. And take your fish, and we had it resting. What does that mean? It means that it was slowly kind of continue to cook on the side. If it was a little bit too cold for you or something like that, what you could do is you could have it in the oven on a rack and still cooking a little bit, just keep it warm. So we have our fish, we have our grits. That's really it. That's it. If you wanted to add a little bit of water to the greens, you could, and then it could create a little bath. But for me, I don't like too much water in mine. I'll add a little bit more of this lemon zest. I just love lemon zest. And that's really it. I don't know if you can see this. Really simple. Anybody could do this. Greens, fish and grits. We didn't change it. We kept it as is. And it's just a homage to African-American cooking. So thank you so much for joining me. You know, if you cooked along, thank you. If you didn't, thank you. And yeah, I'm gonna taste it. Does anybody have any questions while I eat this? Because I haven't eaten anything all day. Christian, you there? I like it. You have the peppery notes from like the greens. You have the acid from the fish, right? The fish is small. It was porgy, so it's a little bit sweeter fish. So you have sweet, you have acidic, you have the creaminess from the grits, right? Buttery, cheesy, and it just has so many different flavors to it. You know, like little layers. So I think I'll eat this. Super simple dinner, ready to go. So thank you so much, guys, for joining. Really appreciate it. Thank you. This was Simple Cooking with Sakari. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video.